more positive.
All right.
Because you opening up I'm opening up Twitch, right?
Yeah,
Which I don't always do or ever
that's
do.
fine. That's all right. I just opened up everything.
Okay, I got it open.
All right. I am going to start the
I
show.
gotta. Okay.
All right, everybody. It is your maybe not favorite top two host, Jay, back from Thailand, and special guest today. We have Kyrie Irving joining us. So welcome, Kyrie, to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay. Very warm welcome. Thank you for that.
Eye of the hurricane. Listen to yourself churn. World serves its own needs.
All right. That was a weird response to what I said, but I want to get right to it. So you posted a link to a movie, and people are saying it has anti-Semitism in it. You definitely wouldn't post a link to a movie that you haven't watched, right? So what is your
I
response?
I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows.
Hmm.
If I fail, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they cannot take away my dignity.
Is that a song lyric? Are you quoting Aretha Franklin?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. So people are saying, even if you don't think the movie was offensive, people got offended and they would like you to apologize for it. So, what is your response to that?
If God had a name, what would it be? And would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you ask if you had just one question? And yeah, God is great.
I feel like I'm asking questions and getting completely different responses than my question.
But you see, it's not me. It's not my family. It's in your head. In your head. They are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns in your head. In your head. They are
What I
crying.
definitely know you're quoting the Cranberries now. So,
I
anyway, Kyrie, are you just going to quote movie lyrics the whole time, or are you going to answer any of these questions?
I'm answering all your questions. I don't know why you're just life is bigger. It's bigger than you, and you are not me. The length that I will go, the distance in your eyes. Oh, I said too much. I set it up. That's me in the corner.
Well, it sounds like
That's me in the that's me in the spotlight.
you're losing your religion.
I don't know what you're referring to, but I'm here for your questions. My team, I understand the NBA has the Brooklyn Nets are taking out vengeance down upon me, but it's fine. It must have been. I have to say for Durant and everyone else, it must have been cold there in my shadow. To never have sunlight on your face, you were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind.
Is Durant the wind beneath your wings?
I from the day we arrive on the planet and blinking step into the sun, there's more to see than can ever be seen. More to do that can ever be done. There's far too much to take, more to than ever can be found, but the sun rolling high through the sapphire sky keeps great and small on endless round. It's the circle of life.
Kyrie, enjoy your suspension.
I
We are the New York Knicks. I'm back, back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts, just like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 500 and I don't know, 88, something like that.
by the way, Jake, Kyrie wanted to add, "We'll never stop." Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Hope that was helpful.
Yeah, very, very helpful. So we got a bunch of questions this week, so we're gonna go into that. We have, if you want to send in questions, we are nyknickspodcast@gmail.com and nyknickspodcast on Twitter and Patreon. And we have a Discord now, so you can go to we're also NY Knicks Podcast on Facebook. So you go to Facebook, you go to Twitter. The links for the Discord's on there, and you could submit questions on there. You could join chats. We've got a bunch of different threads, game threads,
Jay,
stuff like that.
the first question is from co-host Mark. Will you please go back to Thailand? The Knicks were 3-1 before you got back.
Yeah, I was all excited. I was like, I can't wait to get back and watch this great team. Yeah.
Now they not so much. The reality has sunk in. The Knicks are 3-4, and if you believe the Knicks Twitterverse and Reddit and everywhere else the Knicks fans comment, the world has ended, and we are currently competing. We're currently the worst team in basketball,
and it's 100% Tibbs' fault. This is a championship team without Tibbs.
Last year, the Knicks started off 5-1. So, should we overreact, Jay?
A little. It's not that I just feel like there's signs of things to come. It's not like
you think.
I don't want to say 3-4 and like, oh my God, but like I don't see how these problems resolve. And instead of blaming Tibbs, I'm blaming Leon Rose, because this is a team with almost no shooters and almost no defenders. And you could say, okay, the starting lineup has one good defender in Mitch. You could swap out Fournier and put in Grimes. You still only have two good defenders in the starting lineup. It's not great.
The issue comes down to the Knicks trying to compete before they have the talent to try to compete. I mean, it comes down to James Dolan hiring an inexperienced team president. We've done this already on the show. Team president, and with the kind of idea, let's be competitive. Leon Rose not doing great roster construction, missing on multiple picks. And then even when you hit picks that are good, they're okay. They're not amazing picks. And then kind of just stopping. There's so many places we could have done better, and we are where we are.
But we have a war chest of draft picks coming up.
War chest. The idea, like, I've been killing Leon for just like refusing to use all his draft picks every year.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if we used all our draft picks, like right now, bench, like on the bench, 11 through 15, I guess, or 12, 13, and 14 at least, are we have Sims on the bench. We have 12, 13, and 14 are guys that have zero chance of playing for the Knicks. They're just on the roster to fill spots, basically. Why not have three other young players? Maybe they won't play a lot. Maybe they would shine in practice and win playing time. Maybe they could be helpful for trades. I don't know. You just have to keep building a team. You know, next year we're going to have to decide, or I guess we're at the point where you might have to decide on contracts, long-term contracts for Obi and IQ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'd be nice not to be stuck in this position where you're like, do we need to overpay these guys? And why do we need to overpay these guys? And why don't we have more young guys on the roster? And the roster needs more.
It does.
There's a lot wrong with the roster. I mean,
there is.
Speaking of my overreactions, before Jay came back on the show, I overreacted and said Randall was playing well this year.
Mm-hmm.
I was complimenting him. I also said Jalen Brunson was the guy, the greatest point guard we've ever. I went over the top about Jalen Brunson, who I really like still, but I probably went over the top a little much. I also killed Obi for being like just looking kind of like he couldn't do a lot in the first couple games. Now he's looking a lot better. There are a lot of overreactions from our show, or me.
I mean, it's been a long off season, so every game is amplified until we kind of get a bunch of games under our belt.
Yeah. Well, let's do some questions, and we'll go more into the games. Okay. So on Instagram, LostDude0451 writes, in an alternative reality, who would have had more success in New York? Prime LeBron James signing with New York instead of Miami, or Steph Curry drafted by the Knicks? I guess this is a fun topic, not so relevant for current events, but what do you think? I think this is an easy answer. LeBron James signing in 2010, I'm assuming, right, or 2000 when Amari would came here, or Steph Curry being drafted with the number 6 pick.
Yeah, I think LeBron.
I don't think it's close.
You don't think it's close?
No, only because the Knicks aren't great at developing. Steph Curry had kind of injury plagued first couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's amazing, but also the system let him be amazing. And I feel like the Knicks were more rich. I feel like the Knicks would have blown his development somehow. Like he'd still be a great. I mean, it's hard to completely blow an all-time great player's development, but LeBron was already like LeBron when he would have gotten here. So the Knicks would have just said, "Do what you want."
Andrew said Curry would have been traded to make space for LeBron.
Yeah, exactly.
And then LeBron wouldn't have come.
I mean, yeah, I think the Knicks would have screwed up something with Steph. Like we were like, wow, I can't believe the Knicks traded away Steph Curry, future like a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Like whereas you never would have traded away LeBron.
True.
Just because Steph was like a little more injury plagued the first couple of years, where LeBron was immediately like, you're like, this guy's amazing. Next question. On Facebook, Jan writes, I know everyone is going to overreact to this loss. And I think he's talking about the Hawks loss, which was goddamn awful. It's an awful loss, and it feels awful as a fan. I think a lot of us thought going into the season that getting a legit point guard would help this team's offense run smoother and make RJ and Randall more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's the players or the system? Do you feel like the team is cohesive and was assembled with Tibbs' system in mind?
So I don't think it is Brunson. I think it is the players.
You don't think it's Brunson? You mean you don't think it's Tibbs?
I don't think it's Tibbs. I mean, Tibbs isn't making these guys shoot 20% from the three-point line.
Tibbs doesn't really have a dynamic offense. He is trying to get the guys who can run faster. But you're right. You're limited by the players you have.
Yeah, it's not like these guys were. I don't think in a different system they're all of a sudden gonna shoot amazing. I think that's just who they are.
Like if the Knicks had signed DeJounte, if the Knicks had made a trade for DeJounte Murray, he'd probably be awesome here. If the Knicks had brought in Donovan Mitchell, he'd probably be awesome here.
Yeah, but I don't think RJ's all of a sudden shooting 40% from three again.
Right. They would. The problem with playing RJ and Randall together, if they're both not shooting well, you have two very inefficient, high-volume players. It's not a great fit on a winning offense.
Yeah, agreed. They're both very when your two highest volume shooters are both poor shooters, it's not a recipe for winning.
Right, and they've both been particularly bad. Though RJ's hit a couple more, a little better the last couple games, but generally speaking, they've both been really bad from the outside.
Yeah.
And so like last night, the Hawks switched to a zone, and the Knicks were like, "What is this? I've never seen a zone before. Right. How do we defeat this?" Like, hey, you can like run the floor, you could like shoot from the outside. I'm sorry, it doesn't compute. I've never seen this. Why is this guy allowed to just stand in a zone and not cover a player?
It seemed like they were trying to just swing the ball around, but
yeah,
in a zone, you need to penetrate to make the defense collapse a little bit, and then kick it out and pass it around. They skip that first step.
Brunson has had some. So I think Brunson did play basically starter minutes last. He was a starter last year. So, but it is a little bit of adjustment becoming the focal point of the offense or focal point of like running the offense. So I think there are some adjustments for him. He's gotten some like foul troubles early on in some of the games. I think he's still figuring out this team, how to run this team.
And
it's going to be.
I'm like, Brunson is. I'm happy with him. I don't think he's a problem at all on this roster. Like he's a piece. There's plenty of problems on this roster, and Brunson's not it.
If Jay was doing his official power rankings, I'm assuming Brunson's number one right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's easy, and then it gets tough right at number 2.
It gets real tough. I would say Randall has, not putting him number 2, but I'm saying in the first couple games, he looked much more like he was trying to adapt to the new system. And it seems like he's gone back to old habits pretty fast. I don't know. Randall hasn't looked terrible. He doesn't look like he's Randall from last year. He just doesn't look great either.
He's shooting like, under 20% from 3?
Yeah, that's been terrible. He's been better inside. I think he's shooting better percentage inside than from 2 than he was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. RJ still also drives into traffic. I've noticed with RJ, and tell me if you notice this also. Sometimes he'll pass the ball, and sometimes he'll just drive to the basket. It's rare that he sometimes just puts his head down and just doesn't make the pass when he needs to. It's like he's already decided where I'm going to drive or I'm going to pass in this play.
Yeah, there was a clip last night. Somebody took a still of it, and he was under the basket with 3 guys surrounding him, and Obi's just standing at the 3-point line with both of his arms up and didn't get the pass. And it's like, yeah,
And-
you need to be able to be a quicker decision maker when you're doing things like that.
There are a lot of issues. And Obi, as much as so Obi, last game was the first game I saw him doing any kind of dribbling and trying to drive a little bit to the basket.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the issues really is if he wants to supplant Randall, and he played pretty well last night. His 3-point shooting has actually been, obviously he's not going to keep this up, but his 3-point shooting has been ridiculous. He's looked at Obi's numbers from 3.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it because, I guess the second half of the game was stuck in my head, and I saw Obi miss a couple threes. But then I look and he's shooting over 50% for the season, and I'm like, when did that happen?
Yeah, he's been actually to the point where I'm expecting him to actually make the 3. So he's at 45% for 3 for the season. But I'm actually expecting him to make the 3, which was not like that most of the last season or most of his career, the first 2 years. Towards the end of last year, started making the 3s, but I didn't know he's been shooting great from 3. But to supplant Randall, he needs to be able to
Cover
he's
somebody?
got to be able to cover, defense also. But he's got to be able to create his own shot, dribble a little bit. If he gets the ball outside the 3-point line, he can't just hand it back. He's got to be willing to drive to the basket.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first 6 games, he drove to the basket 0 times. Last night was the first time he drove to the basket.
Is that a fact? He drove 0 times?
I'm just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not. The Knicks. So I guess the first 7 games, the Knicks have played 8 games now. Is that right? Or 7 games?
7.
7. Yeah. I from just what I watched every game, I don't remember Obi driving to the basket once outside of last game, doing it last game.
Mm-hmm.
He's great on the fast break, but it's also that's a bit of a it's great, but when you're pulling off the fast break, you got to be able to do more. And there's also he missed. In fairness, Obi also missed a dunk last night. He also missed a couple, a layup.
Well, that was the last straw for Tibbs. I think he tried to do a reverse dunk when you're trying to stage a comeback in the fourth quarter. And if I'm coach, I pull him too. He missed 2 threes and then he tried a reverse dunk like that.
Paul writes, why does anyone think RJ will become a good shooter or efficient player?
Because the Knicks drafted him. That's it.
So here's the thing. He shot 40% from 3 for an entire season. During that season, he also had started off really cold from 3. Mm-hmm. So he had to shoot extra well the last 4 months of the season to even get to 40%. So it can't be a fluke if you did for a whole season. And I guess the same thing for Randall. How do you shoot 40% for a whole season and be a bad shooter?
I think it was a fluke.
How do you have a fluke for an entire season?
Randall was really good for 1 season. The guy's in year 7 or 8, and he had one really good season.
Yeah, that's fair. Certain things RJ can do, he just when he drives if he has a short pull-up jumper, so he doesn't always drive to the basket. He tried to do a little spin move, go to the basket and spin back and do a reverse. What Randall does it a lot, and RJ just hasn't quite mastered that. There are little things he should be able to do to get his percentage up. Just take better shots. I don't know. RJ can be more efficient than this.
So
everyone on the roster could be more efficient than this, basically.
So we're in year 4 of RJ, right?
Yes.
So year 1, he averaged 14, 5, and 2.5 on 40, 32, and 61% shooting. All right. We're now in year 4. He's averaging...
It's 7 games, Jay. But go on.
You want to do year 3? I mean, we could do year 3.
Okay, so I get it. Year 2. Do year 2. He shot 40% from 3.
Yeah, but now we're 2 years removed from that.
Right. You know what? RJ has to figure out what shots are easier for him and take more of those. He's got to be better with shot selection. The 3-point shooting could be... He can't shoot a ton from 3. He shoots more corner 3s, but he's got to do more around the basket.
He does.
and figure out how to not to be always going in traffic. He could be more efficient. I mean, IQ. I like so much of what IQ is doing this year, but he's shooting the same crappy percentage. And I also love when people talk about like, well, IQ, what about true shooting percentage? Okay, if your field goal percentage sucks and your effective field goal percentage sucks, I'm glad we're going to a third stat. But most players who are good can shoot at least 40% from the field. Like, it's not ridiculous to say you got to shoot over 40% from the field.
Yeah, that's not even good.
Yeah, like where you're ripping on has RJ shot below 40% from the field? Even though IQ's true shooting percentage has been higher, has RJ, who's super inefficient, has he shot below 40% in his entire career?
First year 40.2, third year 40.8, this year 40.7.
So no, and he's super inefficient. Randall, has he been below 40%? No, either. Most good players, and these guys aren't even amazing players, but most players are not below 40%. So IQ, first of all, I'd like IQ starting over Fournier right now because Fournier's been garbage. But it's really hard if the guy, like, I feel for Tibbs in the sense of like, you're trying to win and you're getting all this crap, and the guys just aren't shooting well on the floor.
Right. Yeah, I mean, RJ is, Quigley has never shot above 40%.
Yeah. It's just yeah.
We're at year 3, and he's not shot above 40%.
He's got to get there to be a better play. Like, you just like, what is the NBA? Like, I mean, a lot of it like is just every game. Both teams are going to get a lot of shots, and the percentage you make basically are going to determine to a large extent who's going to win. Obviously, you can take more shots. There's turnovers, everything else. But you got to put the ball in the goddamn basket. Paul writes, I'm very happy to see the Nets are a mess. Wait, hang on. Oh, sorry. I'm very happy to see the Nets a mess, and I certainly want to see Kyrie punished for his latest crap. But if we had Durant, Kyrie, and all of it on the Knicks, would you be willing to blow it up, or would you keep it going with these guys in hopes of success? So the latest news on Kyrie is he promoted on his Twitter a documentary that had anti-Semitic tropes. He was confronted. He was questioned about this. He's basically refused to apologize. Has just said more weird stuff. The Brooklyn Nets have now suspended him for at least 5 games, and basically have said if he does not basically apologize and just say I'm not anti-Semitic, we're not going to have you back. The Brooklyn Nets have also they have Ben Simmons, who still seems to be scared to shoot, but he's willing to play on the floor. And they've also now fired Steve Nash and replaced him with a coach, while a very good coach who was fired by or suspended by the Boston Celtics for sexual harassment or an inappropriate relationship with a yeah. What the hell's wrong with the Nets?
At least they took a stand finally. Like, I feel like they gave Kyrie every chance too.
If they say, what I read before was that they said Kyrie has to basically like say in no unequivocal terms, I am not an anti-Semitic, and he's got to basically apologize. Do you think, which is a very simple act, do you think Kyrie will do that, or will Kyrie just refuse to do that and just sit out the season?
He seems like the kind of guy who would just sit out.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who won't get the shot seems like the guy also who would let this become even worse and worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think he really I don't think he is being anti-Semitic, even if the movie is. I think that he thinks he's on to something. I think he falls for conspiracy theories. He's a flat earther. He posts Alex Jones's stuff. I think he's just really naive, and he falls for a lot of these conspiracy theories. And
but this, honestly, I mean, in fairness, this is a conspiracy theory that involves basically anti-Semitic basic tropes about the Jews.
I honestly, I don't even know what it is.
Let's we don't even need to get into it, but basically, like, the big point people are making is that the way it depicts Jews are basically what led the Jewish people to basically like it was why the Holocaust happened. You let tropes go on, people start telling negative things about the Jewish people, and eventually we have Germany. in the 1930s and 40s.
Okay.
Anyway, not even like I don't think he necessarily feels like he's being. I agree with you. I don't feel like he's feeling like I hate Jewish people, but he's like I am on to something with these Jewish people.
Well, I feel like he's thinking of it from an African American standpoint, where he thinks like, the way I took it just is that he thinks their origin is coming from somewhere else, and he thinks he's on to that, or
Right. Okay. Yeah. Like we're the real Jews. Like the whole connected the whole Kanye thing, basically.
Yeah.
We're the real Jews, and blah blah blah. And the Jewish people are they were really the slave traders. They stole our Jewishness.
right. That's
That sounds pretty anti-Semitic and pretty hateful. And also, if you're someone with like a big platform and you spread those things, you start basically convincing a lot of other people. The more you let people who have big platforms amplify this, the worse it gets. I think the Nets took the right action, and you don't want that connected to your organization at all. It's terrible.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I see people posting like, "Oh, he only tweeted a link." It's when you have 1 million followers. Well, first of all, even if you have one follower, if you're posting something, you are endorsing it.
Yeah.
It's not like you could just say like, "Oh, I just posted this random thing." Like, we don't have a lot of followers. If I post something, we're endorsing what we post. I don't tweet links to stuff that I don't support.
His explanation was really weird why he posted it also. It was some bizarre search he did, and like he hasn't even been clear whether he watched it. But it's all part of this whole also conspiracy mindset that's been festering in the US. It probably festers a lot of places. And that's amplified by social media, where people just like no one wants to hear facts anymore. Or they believe there are alternative facts, basically, that people just aren't telling them. There was a whole thing with, and let's go back to the sports in a second, but I heard an interview with Kanye where he said, I don't think schools should teach history anymore because history is told by the winners. And so we're not really learning the real history. So let's take history out of school.
I mean, all of that is right except for taking history out of school.
It's fucking insane to not want to like. Obviously, history is told by the winners, but to like just say all history is just fake, so we need to get rid of it, and you can just do your own research on YouTube to figure out history. It's just it's insane. We live in a society where we cannot agree on any shared facts anymore. It's just fucking insane.
It is.
Anyway, let's get back to talking about just make fun of the Nets, Jay.
I mean,
this guy's kind of serious. I just think like this stuff is kind of like everything. I know he didn't think it's so serious, but it builds, and I think it's very serious.
Yeah.
But the Nets. If you're the Nets, do you break it? What do you do? Besides the suspension, like what do you do with this team?
You have to try and trade Kyrie. It's so toxic at this point. He's mad that he got suspended now. There's no way he's not mad about that.
He's on a 1-year deal, and no one's going to trade for him.
Probably
no
not.
one's going to trade. No one wants the PR hit to take him on your team because, like, why would you trade for him? You're like, well, he's a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
He's been completely a disaster in Brooklyn. Yes, he's a very good player, and we add a very good player that would make us a better team. But you know what? He's playing with Kevin Durant right now as the dumpster fire. Why would I want to add this to our team? There's no team in the NBA that would take him right now for pennies on the dollar.
He's putting up crazy numbers before he had this meltdown.
I don't think it matters though. I don't think you're like also the Nets are putting up crazy numbers. The Nets aren't winning games.
Well, no, but they're another roster that's like they have no big men. They have Claxton and like no backup.
They're playing with a top 10 player of all time in Kevin Durant, and they can't win games.
Yeah, but look at the roster.
The roster's trash. I get. Ben Simmons isn't this bad. Royce O'Neal's actually been putting up good numbers. Yeah, the roster's not a good roster, but is part of the reason Kyrie in some ways is to blame for part of this roster. I don't Kyrie and Durant collectively have helped build a shitty roster. I know they're not the team GM, but like every machination they forcing them to sign DeAndre Jordan did not work out. Whatever, the team sucks. Like I do. If you're the Nets, if anything, maybe you go and like just go, Kyrie, we're fine with you just being done. Just leave. We'll pay you the rest of the way. We're
I
suspending
mean,
in 5 games.
They might. The suspension's indefinite, so they might just do that.
And then you say, you know what, Durant? You're right. You're not toxic. Sorry, but this is not going to work. Let's start the rebuild now. We can get a lot for Kevin Durant. Let's do this. Because I feel like, where are you going with this? I don't see that. Do you see any situation where this turns around and the Nets end up like going far in the playoffs this year?
No, I mean, what Simmons is already in and out of the lineup with injuries. The Kyrie thing is I think done. At this point, like, I think you have to blow it up. Really.
If I was a Knicks, if it was just the Knicks and I was in and this was our situation, I would say you have to blow it up.
The problem
I
is
feel
they
like
traded all their draft picks for Harden.
Right, but you can get a lot of draft picks for Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Though, in fairness, Kevin Durant's going to say, "I don't want to go to a bad team," but maybe
How many draft picks are you getting for Durant? He's still one of the best players in the league, but he's 34.
The problem is like, so OKC has a lot of. I keep turning back to OKC. They have a lot of draft picks, but will Kevin Durant go to OKC? And if OKC will say, "I know he's under contract, but I don't believe he'll come here and play, so we're just not willing to make the trade." So then, like a Golden State, maybe you can convince them and get Moody, get Wiseman, and get whatever draft picks they have. You could do that. You could trade him to.
By the way, I love the players, the people on Twitter who are saying they feel bad for Durant. He was on a team with Curry and Clay and chose to leave. Like, he could have had 2 more championships by now.
Right. He chose to leave. He chose to team with Kyrie. He has not spoken up yet about Kyrie at all. He asked for a trade when the team wanted to get rid of Kyrie. I don't feel bad for him at all. Like he's made his own bed here. He also like all Durant is doing is making LeBron's legacy look better and better.
Yeah.
People are like, because like LeBron got so much shit for so many years, and now everyone's like, as much of a mess the Lakers are, like he's still had a better run overall than Durant has had.
Of course.
But yeah, I think I would blow this. I think I would blow this up if I was them.
All right. Question.
Next question, and we'll go a little fast with the questions. Josh writes: the Knicks are 3-4, losing games to teams seeded 4-1, 2-4. Why are Knicks fans already sacking Tibbs and Rose, attaching picks to trade Fournier and Randall, and generally tanking the season? Why can't they just relax?
That is not the way we do it over in New York.
Right. The Knicks are playing Philly on Friday. Philly is without Harden's injured for a month. I think they believe they're out without Embiid. Very winnable game. They win this game, you're at 4-4. I think the fear is that a lot of the problems will get exacerbated and get worse and worse. But Grimes is back. He was at least healthy enough to play a few minutes last night. I think the ship could right itself really fast.
I think the problem is with getting Brunson and Hart, and you figured like RJ and IQ would develop more. I think people talked themselves into this team being really good. And like 3 months ago, everyone was like, okay, it's going to be a borderline 500 team, play-in tournament. But I think sometime over the summer, collectively, the Knicks fans talked themselves into this being a surprising, really good team. And now that they're a 500 team, they're getting mad.
They look really good in preseason as well. That helped. And people got super excited about Brunson. And I don't know. We overreact as a fan base. That's all the fandom is. It's also the bigger issue also is, even if the Knicks end up playing pretty well, a lot of these issues turn around. What are we, a 7th seed? If at best?
Yeah.
44, 45 wins. How do we get to 50 and above? No idea.
Yeah. All right, next question.
Based Knicks fan writes, is it time to fire Tibbs? Is it time for the fire Tibbs movement? He's too stubborn in making in-game adjustments. Do you think how much, like, if the Knicks Twitter world had the coach they wanted, how much of these amazing adjustments, how big of a difference would they make?
1 to 2 games a season. I mean, yeah, he let the run go on too long. He didn't make any changes. On the other hand, what changes are you making? Because you're substituting like poor defenders for poor defenders and bad shooters for bad shooters. Like, I know people like the bench guys more, are they that much better? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, in fairness, Tibbs has been coaching for a long time, and I'm not doing the whole thing that he knows more than we do. But he sees these guys in practice. He's a lot of them. He has not seen enough from Obi to say like this guy has to play over Randall. He has not seen that. He's giving IQ more and more run. I feel like it's not like IQ goes out there, dominates practice, dominates every time he plays, and we're like, we can't figure out why he doesn't play him. It's not like we have a mini LeBron who's like just itching for playing time. All these guys were like, they could be good if they play more minutes. It's hard to say.
I feel like if and when Obi gets a lot of run, people are going to be like, oh, that's...
He's a bit of a guy like that will be exposed more, like in
Yeah,
longer
he
run.
went on a run at the end of last season, but I don't feel like that he's going to do that for an entire season if he was put into the starting lineup.
I called for an offseason the Knicks to get rid of Randall and have Obi start. I'm still fine with that, but I do think he's Obi in many ways is a limited player, and his limitations will be exposed over time. Like the fact that he cannot seem to dribble the ball. He's a limited defender. These are things that he's more efficient most of the time. His game needs a lot of work for year 3.
Yeah.
Twit writes, how badly does Randall have to play for not to be guaranteed 30-plus minutes a night? In hindsight, should we have gutted the future for Mitchell?
See, I think that's part of the problem. Randall, I think, is still a better player than Obi, but Randall has bad nights, and that's when Tibbs doesn't yank him and put in Obi. And
in fairness, last year he was guaranteed 37 minutes a night. Now he's playing 30 to 32 minutes a night. Tibbs is adjusting.
It is. I just feel like, a lot of coaches, when a guy is having a bad night, he'll go with the hot hand. And I feel like Tibbs doesn't do that as much.
Yeah, I don't think, though. It's not often that he pulls the hot hand, though. It's more just like, I don't know, is it that often where he just kills things by bringing in the I know the starters have not been playing that great, but it's not like the bench unit was on a run last night and eventually put the starters in. The Knicks fell apart, but I don't necessarily think it was connected to bringing the starters back in. It's just that the Hawks played zone and the Knicks couldn't figure that out. And when the bench came back in, they weren't very good either.
The thing I noticed yesterday was that as soon as Mitch went out with his third foul, the Hawks went on this crazy run. But Mitch hardly played the rest of the game. And, you had to have seen that, whoever was in there could not defend the Hawks, and you needed Mitch. I don't get why he didn't go in and play another.
I don't know. I also don't know why the Knicks can't cover guys from 3 better. I know overall the stats show the Knicks aren't that bad from 3, but it seems like they can't just figure out this one guy's going to against Cleveland. Just stay near Kevin Love. Against the Hawks, stay near DeJounte Murray.
Once a guy hits 4 or 5 threes, you should not
hit 4 or 5.
Be like, I don't care if another guy is wide open. You just stay near the guy who just hit 5 threes.
How much? Okay, so the Donovan Mitchell thing, and Cameron also writes, how much does it hurt that you didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell? Donovan Mitchell and DeJounte Murray. Are you upset the Knicks didn't get either of these players?
I'm not as upset over Mitchell because I feel like the Knicks made a really reasonable offer. I believe it was 3 picks, RJ, Obi, and Mitch.
Yeah.
Which I think would have been too much until I saw them play this season. And now I'm like, okay, maybe not. But Murray was gotten for Gallo and 3 first-rounders. One of the 3 was Charlotte's pick. That's not that much.
The price was lower.
The price was lower, and I think Murray is maybe a better player because he plays much better defense. I would have rather had Murray, and I feel like he was a lot more obtainable. And so I'm much angrier that the Knicks didn't get him.
Right. I mean, Mitchell's a better offensive player. Jonathan Murray's a very good offensive player. Even if you say Mitchell overall is the better player, the price was pretty different. It's a lot cheaper for Murray. Why the Knicks couldn't have?
When I saw what the Hawks got for Murray for, I was like, the Knicks couldn't have done that. I feel like the Knicks didn't even try to get Murray. I feel like they had tunnel vision and they're like, Brunson's our guy, and they didn't even try for Murray, which I thought was ridiculous.
The Knicks should have figured out the price was really high for Mitchell really fast enough to have made it like pivot it basically to Dejounte Murray.
Yeah.
I feel like the Knicks just kind of like the tunnel vision was again Leon Rose. I think Leon Rose just thought like it was just like the two of them and that was it. He didn't realize a third team would actually be involved.
Yeah.
Q Har writes, one of the funniest bits of this show was Derrick Rose popping in for an interview a couple of years ago. Can we get a Kyrie interview? I don't know, Jay, do you like the Kyrie interview or no?
I enjoyed it.
Okay. I think that was it for. We have a couple emails. You want to do the quick emails?
Yep.
Not to make this whole show questions, but
Well, that's fine. I mean, if that's what the listeners want, that's what they get.
yeah, it's fine. Go.
So Sam writes, "Hey guys, what's up? I'm writing this before the Cleveland game, so I don't know if he turned it around. But RJ is killing me with these slow starts, and you're not a rookie anymore. This is year 4. This kid from Indiana, Matherin, is already better than him. I think RJ's ceiling is Harrison Barnes without a mid-range or Evan Turner without defense. Also seeing Donovan Mitchell average 30 while RJ stinks it up and Grimes smiling on the bench is a total mindfuck and depressing." Well,
Yeah.
I don't really have any.
You go to the next email. He made a solid point.
Yeah, you did make a solid point. Okay, so Jonathan writes, "Hey guys, is it too early to think that Barrett contract was a mistake?" I'm noticing a trend with these emails. Barrett is
They're
not,
really negative.
Barrett is not developed to the player we thought. He can't make a shot, can't finish near the basket, can't create for others, and don't play D. So are we regretting trading him for Mitchell, who, by the way, is killing in Cleveland? Oh, and I'm not blaming Barrett only for our 3-4 record. Randall cannot make a shot either.
I mean, the Knicks' options were a bit limited in the sense of like, if they didn't spend the money on Barrett, the money doesn't go anywhere. Like they were able to go over the cap to get him. So I'm not. And also, you have to bet on RJ's future because if you don't bet on RJ's future, what do we have? If you're not going to trade RJ for a better player, you're not going to let him go, and he's not going to take less money.
Right.
I mean, it was a pretty reasonable contract for what you hope he becomes. So I'm not regretting the contract.
Jonathan writes, "Quickly is a career 39% shooter from the field. Wasn't he supposed to be a great shooter?"
Yes, he's supposed to be a great shooter. We're waiting for that to happen any day now.
And last one, Jason writes, "Hey guys, love the podcast, but been listening since I began following basketball about 9 years ago, although I haven't submitted many questions." Well, thank you, Jason.
Awesome.
Being a 13-year-old at the time, I grew up as a huge fan of Kyrie Irving. Whilst I've disagreed with many of his opinions due to his tendency to favor anecdotal evidence over empirical evidence, I've always respected him because despite the amount of hate he has received for his inaccurate statements, he himself has never made any hateful comments, and it always seemed genuinely believe he's educating people. However, that may have changed with his latest controversy. Like Mark, I am also one of the tribe, and I'm really not sure how I feel. What do you guys think?
I think Kyrie takes stances on stupid shit, and that I find frustrating. And I feel like he does not, even though he did not mean necessarily to offend people, he also doesn't seem to he seems like a very selfish human being.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he really just the whole shot that he doesn't seem like he ever wants to adjust what he wants to do to help other people around him.
I also find it interesting that he says the dumbest shit, but he seems to think he's really smart.
Yeah, my opinion of him really started going downhill when he asked to be traded. Like he said, he couldn't play with LeBron anymore. And everyone gave LeBron shit for that when it turned out Kyrie was the dumpster fire. It's just why would you not want to keep winning?
For me, it was the flat Earth thing.
The flat Earth thing was also pretty, and I never really understood if he believed the flat Earth or he was just trying to be I don't know, a contrarian. Maybe it is flat. Let's have a discussion. He's like an intellectual who's a complete moron. And I know he's not a moron, but it just has this the dumbest intellectual possible kind of view on stuff.
I mean, anybody who thinks the Earth is flat isn't the most intelligent person.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe Joe Biden's actually a lizard. Why don't we just have the discussion? You don't want to have the discussion. I can't believe you don't have discussion. Maybe Trump was killed many years ago and now he's a robot. I can't believe we want to have discussion about Trump being a robot. We're like, well, these aren't real discussions. Could you just please stop doing this? Anyway, Jay, so I'm going to play a game with you. You want to play a game?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to a team stat game about the Knicks. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to pick a stat.
Was that
I'm
all
gonna
the
ask you-
questions?
Yeah, that was a lot of questions.
Oh,
Do you want to spend the next 20 minutes on questions?
Well, we didn't do Twitter either.
Did we not do Twitter?
No.
No, I thought I did Twitter. I thought I did Twitter. I did. Did I not do Twitter?
You did? I don't know. I thought you were reading Facebook the whole time.
I think I moved on to Twitter.
Okay.
I took pictures of the questions and I grouped them all together. I don't know when I switched over to Twitter. If I did not, I think I got everything. You don't think I got everything? Okay, let me look back real quick, Jay. This will be awesome for the show. Okay, so I'm going to go back and try to figure out if I've actually got all the Twitter questions. I know I took pictures of every screenshots, so I didn't have to look for the questions.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I did them all already.
Okay. Good.
So thank you for questioning me, Jay. Can't believe you. Now I bet next thing you're gonna do, Jay, that's how it starts. Kyrie questions whether his co-host does Twitter questions, then he questions the Earth's shape. Okay. So 3-point percentage. I'm going to start with offense. 3-point percentage.
Wait, Andrew says there's questions on Pinterest.
Damn it. Hot MILF on Pornhub writes, what do you okay, so teams 1 through 30, what place do you think the Knicks are currently in 3-point percentage shooting as a team?
26th.
Yes. The Knicks are 24th. They are hot garbage in shooting percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Seems
I'm
pretty
actually surprised they're that high.
Yeah. How about field goal percentage? How are they as a team in field goal percentage?
Well, I feel like they got Mitch, who always shoots good. Brunson's been shooting pretty good. I'm going to say middle of the pack, 15th.
19th. Still pretty bad.
Yeah.
Free throw percentage. Where do you think they're at free throw percentage?
Bad. I'm going to say bad. 23rd.
They are 28th, and I am surprised there are two teams that are worse. They have been missing so many goddamn shots. And also, that's like the shot where no one's guarding you. You can't hit that shot.
Well, also, why is Randall shooting technical free throws?
I don't know. Randall's actually not the worst free throw shooter, so it annoys me, but he's actually not bad of a.
Yeah, but when Brunson's out there, why is Randall shooting it?
Right. Evan Fournier should shoot it even. Like,
Yeah.
a better shooter should shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
He just takes the ball, and no one wants to, go hey, Randall, we're supposed to be the best free throw shooter, not you.
Right.
Randall's free throw percentage is actually he's under 70% for the year. So
Yeah.
he's usually not that
69%,
bad, but
Yeah, he's
pretty
not been
bad.
good. I don't know why he's shooting that.
Okay, assists. We got a point guard finally. How are we doing in assists?
18th.
Tied for 14th.
Okay.
Not so bad. Rebounding.
16th.
We are in rebounding. That is one of our. We're second in the league in rebounds.
Really?
Yeah, that's something we do well.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's switch over to a little bit of defense. Let's go to. Okay. Let's go to. Hang on. Sorry, let me find this. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do. Sorry. Okay. Let's go to opponent's 3-point percentage.
I mean, after that Cavs game, it can't be good. They were really good before that.
Right.
15th.
10th.
Okay.
Still not that bad.
Considering they got absolutely roasted that game, that's impressive, I guess.
Opponent's field goal percentage.
12th.
Second in the NBA.
Okay. All right.
You feel like that, like the Knicks should be doing a little better if that's something you're doing well.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is there.
Opponent's defensive rebounding.
8th.
26th. Opponents are getting so many second chances against them. It's ridiculous.
Well, there it is.
The Knicks are really good on offensive rebounding, and that's why they're high in the league in rebounding, but they're getting crushed on the boards on defense. And then I wanted to do two others. And by the way, the as bad as the Knicks are at 3-point percent, like it seems like they're always giving up 3-point shots or makes. Do you know that before Tibbs got here, the Knicks were 28th and 28th the 2 years preceding Tibbs got here in 3-point percentage allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So like they were one of the worst teams in the NBA. Year one, they were first in the NBA. Last year they were sixth. Now they're 10th. In theory, Tibbs' method for like the guarding the line actually ends up working for the most part.
Yeah. Although the downward trend is not great, but at least they're top 10 still.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, his theory is most nights you miss more. Like if you jump out of the shooters, more times than not, it works out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just and then okay, so last ones. So offensive rating. So the Knicks last year, the biggest issue was their offensive rating was pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
How are they this year?
Offensive rating. 14th.
19th. The offense still sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive rating, which the Knicks finished last year at 10th in the league. Where are they on defensive rating?
12th.
15th. The team is still pretty mediocre.
It's middle of the road, and that's their record.
That is pretty much. Oh, last one. This is the last one. Pace. Tibbs said he wanted to move faster.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 years, the Knicks have been near the bottom of the NBA in pace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the last time the Knicks broke a sweat going down the court.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think the Knicks are doing in pace this year?
20.
And by the way, I'll tell you, actually, Knicks are not last. Who do you think last is? Take a quick guess. I'll give you hints until you get it. First hint: they have a star, like a top 10 player in the league, easily on that team. Arguably top 5.
Oh, I was going to say Miami till you said top 5. Brooklyn.
No, this player he's probably the reason for the slow pace also, because he tends to move slowly, even though he's one of the best players in the NBA. And he's ball dominant.
Dallas.
Yes. The Knicks are 17th in pace.
Okay, that's
So they're actually moving a lot faster than they have in the last couple of years.
yeah. For them, that's fast.
That's pretty fast. So Jay, some questions about the roster. What do you think Grimes' role will be now that he's back? Is he on the bench? Is he starting? How's it going to work out with Grimes?
I think he's bench. I mean, he was healthy and he didn't go until 3 minutes left in the game yesterday. I don't really. It seems like Tibbs doesn't think he's ready.
I mean, do you think basically he just got back? He's only been healthy for a short while, I assume. And so Tibbs, I think Tibbs said before the game, he wanted to give him a chance to get back in game shape. Though I guess playing the game would help you get back in game shape. But maybe let's assume a week from now he's back in game shape. What do you think the role will be?
I think it comes down to how he's playing versus how Cam is playing, because that is where the minutes are going to be, I believe. One of those guys is going to get buried on the bench.
So Cam, if you don't know, he was really amazing in game 1 and has basically been dumpster fire since.
Yeah, I know.
Have you noticed that Cam just sometimes just looks like he just throws shit up?
Yeah. It seems like, well, he doesn't get a lot of minutes, so I feel like he's trying to do too much to impress everybody when he gets the minutes, but to the point where it's almost like fumbling and not good.
No, sometimes he drives to the basket and there's no shot whatsoever, and he'll just throw some wild shot just to get it up.
I think I read somewhere that he has one of the worst pass percentages of any player in the league.
I think I saw online, someone made the comparison. He's basically Michael Beasley without the skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not a lot of awareness on defense. I don't know. There's a reason that the Knicks got him for the reason the Hawks gave up on him.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think Grimes will be. I don't know if he'll crack the starting lineup anytime soon because Tibbs seems to think that's in stone. I bet Grimes ends up playing 25 plus minutes a game pretty soon, and he ends up finishing more games for us.
I'd be surprised if he got anywhere near 25 minutes.
Really? I guarantee the Knicks. I guarantee by our next show. I think we're recording on Tuesday. Okay, I guarantee by the show in the next week or so, he'll crack 25 minutes.
Okay.
I'll bet you a Dogecoin.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. What do you think happens to Cam? What do you think of what you've seen from Cam? Do you think Cam really has a role in this team going forward?
No, I think he's going to get slowly phased out.
Yeah. Especially with unless barring injury.
Andrew
what do you
said
think?
Cam keeps playing to make himself look good rather than playing for the better of the team.
I mean, in theory, you could argue this with anyone. If you gave Cam 30 minutes a night, he'd look a little bit better. Because I think there's also a little bit of like what you said, like he's trying to look good because he has limited minutes. I don't know. Fournier's also sucked, and Cam can't seem to like get more minutes.
It's tough because nobody is that much better than anybody else on this roster.
Are Knicks fans overreacting about Fournier?
Yes. He's not
Why
that
is it?
bad. He has below average defense, but he's one of the best shooters on the team. So I think maybe he's not the best fit with the starting lineup because there's too many negative defenders in the starting lineup, and RJ was supposed to be a good defender, and he doesn't seem to be a very good defender. So I do think it makes sense to make Fournier come off the bench, but not because I think he sucks. I just don't think it's a great fit.
There was and I forget the exact numbers, but there was a stats on and off for Fournier and IQ. And basically, when IQ plays, the Knicks are a positive. When Fournier plays, the Knicks are just a negative. IQ's rating, whatever you think of plus minus is so much better than Fournier's.
I mean, they could play them the same minutes, just swap when they come in, and I think it would be a lot better for everybody.
Right. It's not like Evan Fournier's been playing 37 minutes a night either.
Right.
I mean, how many minutes do you think he's been playing in a game?
About 26.
I think that's probably. I think it's a little high. I'm going to say. So he's actually been playing 24 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Not crazy. It's not insane. And IQ, how many minutes do you think IQ's been playing?
About 22.
He has been playing 23. So it's not like IQ's been lacking in minutes either. I'd probably flop their minutes at the very least.
Yeah.
Would you put IQ until Grimes is ready? Would you put IQ into the starting lineup, or even despite him not being ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be.
IQ's been pretty good defensively. I was surprised because I think his rookie year he was not, but he seems to have improved in that aspect a lot.
He's doing everything on the court well except putting the ball into the basket.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a big thing. And
Yeah,
I think he would be playing 30 minutes plus a night if he just put the goddamn ball into the basket.
Yeah, that's the problem. You're swapping out your best shooter for one of your worst shooters, but you're also swapping out one of your worst defenders for like a plus defender. So
yeah, it's not an easy.
if I could shoot even a league average, he would be starting, I think.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. What do you think is going to happen with the Randall Obi situation going forward?
Nothing. I think Randall, I think, is going to play over 30 minutes a game. I don't think Obi, for Tibbs, I think Obi makes too many mistakes to get more minutes. Defensively.
Yeah.
Defensively.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that like what you're saying, like it's not like Obi's like I'm so much better than Randall, so it's hard to convince Tibbs to change his mind.
And it's arguably maybe he shouldn't change Tibbs' mind. I mean, is he better to the point where you won't even want to do that? I
mean, good like if Randall's on and Obi's on, Randall's better.
Yes.
Randall's ceiling is just higher. It's just frustrating that Randall's
has a higher ceiling and a lower floor. That's the problem.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you think RJ is going to get better. I know we talked about RJ before. Is RJ going to be like, is something he's going to be really bad, or like, is he going to like start impressing fans very soon?
I think he's going to get slightly better, but there's not a long list of players who did not look very different from their rookie year to their third or fourth year, and then all of a sudden got really good. Like, the list is like Billups.
He's getting a little better here and there, but you're right.
Little,
There's not a lot of growth.
I mean, look at all the other players drafted around him. Like, they all got significantly better between their first and third and fourth years.
Kelvin Clark, who's drafted 29th, is now putting up like 23 points a game for the Spurs. I haven't got the chance to watch him, but he's doing it efficiently. It'd be nice if RJ looked far and away better than the guy taking 29th in that draft.
Clark? I thought you said Johnson.
Keldon, what did I say? Keldon Johnson. You're right. Yeah. That's what I meant. Keldon Johnson. That's how obscure he is.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, there's really not a lot of players that don't seem to get better for 2 or 3 years and then all of a sudden make a leap.
What do you think about the center situation? What do you think about Obi and Hart?
The center situation with Obi?
Sorry, not Obi. I meant Hart and Mitch.
I mean, Mitch is in year 4, right? And
yeah.
And in year 1, we said he fouls too much, and now we're in year 4, and he fouls too much.
I think he's gotten better, though the last 2 games have not been good. I have to say, I think if you're going to say strengths of this team so far, I would say Brunson generally he's been good. Though he hasn't been as good the last couple games. I'd say the center position actually has been pretty good overall because Mitch gives you something. Hart, I think, has been pretty good overall.
Yeah, Hart's defense has been a little worse than I was expecting, but
I thought Hart's defense has been pretty good.
I think it depends on the matchup.
Okay.
But he's been rebounding. He could distribute the ball. He's got an outside shot. Like, he's got a more well-rounded game than Mitch.
I really like them just splitting their minutes like down the middle or close to it, unless one of them's really like outplaying the other. Because I think they both bring interesting things to the game.
Yeah, kind of like when Noel was having a really good season, they kind of split that down the middle.
But yeah, I think Hart, maybe you don't like. I thought his defense generally has been like he doesn't really block shots, but he seems well positioned on a lot of shots. Like he makes guys just miss by being well positioned.
Yeah, he knows where to be. He's not the most athletic guy, but he like has basketball IQ, so he knows where to go.
He seems like a very smart player. Jalen Brunson, what do you think so far?
I'm happy with him. Yeah, his last 2 games haven't been as good, but he's a hell of a lot better than any point guard we've had since I can remember. And
he wasn't like last night he got 20, but it was also like he got a couple points in junk time, in garbage time.
It's the usual story. He is probably a number 2 or number 3 guy, and the Knicks are expecting him to be the number 1 guy, which is the same story.
You think so?
Yeah.
You don't think he's like a starting NBA point guard?
Yeah, but he shouldn't be your best guy on your team.
I was like, I feel like he's clearly a starting NBA point guard.
Oh yeah, no. I am saying like he should. If you're gonna win a championship, he cannot be your best player.
Oh yeah.
But once again, the Knicks sign a guy expecting him to be the savior when he's not. We've been doing this since like McDice.
Well, 2 things. First, I really thought you were trying to say he was like a backup, like he's Jose Calderon, and we're trying to make him a starting point guard.
No.
I feel like I'm not putting any rankings. He's somewhere between, like, he's around 15th or 16th best point guard in the NBA in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere around that. I mean,
fair,
if you played it out, maybe he's 17th or 18th. I think he's a pretty solid, at worst, an average point guard in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he was brought here to be the savior. I think he was brought here to be our starting point guard. I think the point when you got him was that like you still wanted Randall and RJ to be better than him.
Yeah,
as an organization, like.
But they're not, and it's getting to the point where I'm gonna say it's not even close.
I mean, Brunson has looked pretty good so far. It's more than him that those guys playing poorly, but like I don't think the plan was like if you brought Donovan Mitchell here, he's meant to be the best player on the team. I don't think Jalen Brunson was meant to be the best player on the team. He's just meant to really be like to solidify the point guard role.
Yeah, but the problem is that he's the best player on the team.
I mean, yes, I agree with that being.
I mean, that's on the front office, though. Like, they're, whatever.
I mean, the Knicks, in fairness, the Knicks have solved the point guard issue for a while. In theory, like we've got a point guard here for the next 4 or 5 years at least.
Yeah.
Do you feel good about that at least?
Yeah. Now let's work on like every other position.
Yeah. So we only have 4 other positions on the floor to figure out. In theory, we just said the center position isn't that bad. 3 positions to go.
Yeah, I'm fine with the center position, but the other 3 need major work.
They need to play better.
Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
like the 3 was supposed to be solidified, and it's not.
I even like our point guard rotation right now. If Derrick Rose can avoid getting injured, between Rose, IQ, and Brunson manning the point guard, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, no, they're good there, and same with center. I mean, you got Hart, and then you have Sims as insurance, and Sims is no slouch. So I mean,
that all looks pretty good. It just doesn't look good after that.
right? Every other position's a dumpster fire.
Not a dime. I mean, like Grimes, hopefully will look better. Yeah, every other position. I don't say a dumpster fire. I'd say a big question mark.
Okay.
What are you expecting from Brunson year end? What do you think his stats will look like?
I mean, similar to what he's doing now, like 18 and 7, 18 and 8. Like,
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
yeah.
What do you think of his defense so far? Because at first, people were like, when the Knicks were winning, they were like, he's not that bad on defense. I really like him. And now everyone's like, he's a turnstile. He can't guard anyone.
No, I think he's fine. I think he had back-to-back matchups against one of the better point guards in the league. I think most of the time he's fine. There's a couple matchups that are not good for him.
I think he fights on defense. I like generally what I see from him.
I think he's been fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think his size is a bit of a limitation, but that's just like a fact. That's not like a
Well, his height, the fact that he's like stocky means people aren't going to post him up. So, he's got advantages, disadvantages. Really fast guys might get around him, but like nobody's going to bully him under the basket.
Okay, let's end the show, Jay, with tell me, let's just go back and forth. Things that you like what you're seeing from the Knicks. Let's talk about just positives to end the show. I want to start with, I really like when Brunson goes to the basket. He's like, his moves around the basket are just like, he's so slippery, basically, getting around guys and get to the basket.
Okay. I like their depth. I feel like a lot of teams, when the starters take a rest, that's where the other team goes on a run, and I don't feel like there's a big drop off for the Knicks. I feel like they have capable players at every position on the bench.
I'm gonna do 2 right here about the same player. Randall has been running the floor a lot more this year, and I have not seen him crying to the refs as much. Like, he really does not, like, those things. He's left some of the crying, some of the bullshit from last year behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to say that it does seem like, even though IQ hasn't been shooting well, he seems to have good chemistry with a lot of the other players, and I feel like his playmaking has gotten a lot better, and so that's keeping him on the court, and it's been a plus.
Mitch has done a couple things this year where he shot the ball from more than a foot away from the basket. It's little things, but he's had I saw him have a little hook. He's doing little things that like, it's slow, but there's some growth to his offensive game.
It's true. His range is at least 3 to 4 feet out now.
I mean, I wouldn't go to 5 feet, but yeah.
I would say
you can play the goodbye song whenever you give up.
Yeah, I think Hart's been good. He does a little bit of everything, and it's really nice to have a guy like that come off the bench.
I'm going to say one last thing, and you can play the goodbye song. Every year, we always have a guy who doesn't get enough playing time, like a Frank Ntilikina, and fans go crazy about that, and they're so annoying on Twitter. The obvious candidate for that was Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
I appreciate Cam Reddish shutting up all his fans with his play recently.
Perfect. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week.
My love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go.
This is the end.
think you nailed it, Jay, with the your tweet earlier. This is what happens when you completely screw up the draft with top 10 picks multiple years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's really the issue. If you can just draft better, your team's better.
There's so many top 10 picks and like nothing.
Every year, every guy that's been drafted, there's someone that's drafted slightly, like not every year, but like there's like you draft RJ, you didn't get a pick higher, okay? Garland would have been a better pick. I mean,
I'm not even mad at the RJ pick because it was a clear 3-person draft back then.
Right. I mean, the biggest knock against RJ was he's not a good shooter, and now we're in year 4 and he's not a good shooter. So Garland, at least you needed a point guard. I'm not mad at that pick. But then you're right. Like
the Frank Knox back-to-back is what killed them. Absolutely killed them.
You blew 2 in a row. Yeah. Obviously, Frank, you could have just drafted Donovan Mitchell, or you could have been wrong on a different player. And then, of course, like Knox pick, which was a joke. Like no one thought Knox should have been drafted there.
No, that was dumb.
His college coach said you shouldn't draft him. And then the Obi pick, of course. And as much as you like Obi, like Tyrese Halliburton was like the much better pick.
Yeah, it made more sense for the roster. Yeah, I think it was a better player to begin with.
And then even like the IQ, I like IQ. You know who's a lot better? Picked a few picks later, Desmond Bane. So much better. But you get lucky later in the draft. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's more luck later in the draft, but and then there was all the trade down bullshits and.
Right. If you just drafted someone in every draft pick you have, maybe you should have a better team because you just keep drafting guys. Like every year, in year 1, he take like the Knicks had the 32nd or 33rd pick in the draft, just doesn't use that pick. Year 2, you have picks 21, 23. You only use one of those picks, and like you make sure it's pick 25. Year 3, you don't draft someone at 11. Like you're just like stopped accumulating talent.
It's ridiculous. I mean, Andrew says he's happy with IQ. I'm happy with IQ, but like, he's not a guy that moves your franchise forward. He's fine.
Right. I guess the point is basically IQ is good, but at every pick, basically, you could have, if you had just nailed the pick, you'd be like, there's just options. Like you're never nailing a pick. You're like getting an above average selection, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay, he's decent. He's like the 8th best guy on a team. Okay.
Like Mitchell Robinson. I don't know who was drafted right around him, but there you could say like you had a 2nd round pick. You pretty much nailed that pick. That was pretty darn good. That was probably the best for value. It's the best pick we've made in the last 10 years.
Right. But like nailing a 2nd round pick is different than nailing a top 10 pick.
Right. Unless you're nailing Jokic basically in the 2nd round. Generally, it's not a difference maker in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
It's
just like, if you look at the top 10 picks, it's like most of the picks work out. And for them to have,
I would not say most of the picks work out. I would say most of these I'd say like, give me a draft that has more than 5 guys that have worked out in the top 10. I don't think there are that many, and they're all-time great drafts if that's the case.
I mean, the Knox one was just like...
That was ridiculous, yes.
The next 6 guys, I think, were all...
Well, the next guys, and Miles Bridges obviously has not worked out quite as well anymore because of domestic abuse, and he's probably going to be suspended for a year from the NBA. I assume. I don't know. Mikal Bridges obviously is very good. Michael Porter's very good. SJ is very good.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
When was the Knox draft? 2018?
That sounds right. 2017 or 18? 18, I think. You picking it up?
Yeah, I'm going to look it right now. Because I think it was like the next 6 or 7 guys that were all... Okay, yeah. So right after Kevin Knox, you had Mikal Bridges, Shea, Miles Bridges, Jerome Robinson. Yeah, that's nothing. But the Michael Porter Jr., Troy Brown...
a lot of good players, basically. They were all being talked about for that draft. Like
DiVincenzo, Lonnie Walker, Herter, Okogie, Grayson Allen, like
Jesus Christ,
Anthony Simons, Wagner.
Oh my God, Anthony Simons, Jesus Christ,
Shamet, Robert Williams. I'm still in the first round.
So like it was like a one of the better drafts. You could have argued like the RJ, like some drafts are weaker. Like this past draft was weaker. Which I guess you really also. That's why I also think it's so stupid to make that argument where the Knicks were like, there was no one good worth picking after pick 10 is so goddamn insane because every year there are good players that are taken after 10.
Look at the second round: Jalen Brunson, Devontae Graham, Gary Trent Jr. I mean,
Like, basically,
Bruce Brown.
For basically Leon Rose to be right, having punted on pick 11 in the draft, it would have this past draft would have been one of the worst drafts in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so. So I'd say that I'm looking back at the Ntilikina one, and the one thing I'd say about the Ntilikina one is that when people were talking about that pick, it was going to be Ntilikina or Dennis Smith or Malik Monk. Those are the three guys everyone was talking about. To give what's his name credit. Who's the guy we hate on Twitter?
Tommy D.
Tommy D. Tommy D, to his credit, was calling that Donovan Mitchell was the guy to take. He was I remember him talking it up and saying, "What about this guy Donovan Mitchell? He's going to be really good." I don't know that he called him like a great player. He just said like this guy is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But the Knicks also could just. And Luke Kennard was also better than the next picks were. It was the Knicks took Dennis Smith. Knicks with Ntilikina. That's Dennis Smith, Zach Collins, who's Malik Monk. Those guys aren't that great. Kennard is better than Frank Ntilikina. And then Mitchell. Actually, 13 is Donovan Mitchell. 14 is Bam.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good guys taking 13 and 4. It's just like the Knicks also like. It's too many times where you're just not good at evaluating talent.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't keep doing that over and over. Everyone messes up a draft, but you can't mess up like 5 in a row.
I mean, the one thing, so Philly has never won from the process. They never actually won it, but one of their issues was that like a lot of the draft picks just weren't very good.
Yeah.
I mean, they took Okafor when it was stupid. Embiid was only Simmons obviously was a good pick and just didn't work out that well, but like there are a bunch of picks they also just blew. I don't know. Sacramento sucks because they always blow the picks.
Yeah. I mean, even the Obi one, like even if you didn't take Halliburton, you had Devin Vassell. Vassell's probably the best one. You had Maxey, Cole Anthony.
I mean, Maxey would be pretty fucking good. But what the pick was Maxey?
Maxey was 21.
Yeah, I mean, it's later. I have to say, like, chances are you're not going to draft the guy that was going to be drafted like 13 picks later. Like, you're not going to go crazy off the board.
No, but if you had better scouting, maybe trade. That's the time you trade down, or you know what? No, but with the A, you picked Vassell or Halliburton. Obi was dumb.
I mean, they could have taken Denny also. But Halliburton was the reason Halliburton was the guy was because the Knicks were dead. Like they just needed a point guard.
Right.
Like if the Knicks also had evaluated and took Cole Anthony over Halliburton, Cole Anthony's not great, but Cole Anthony's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would also look better. Also, like it's just like it was just the stupidest pick possible. You're like, I have this guy who plays 35 minutes a night. I'm going to draft a guy, and I will not give him his minutes. Right. There was something they were saying how like for guys drafted in the top 10 in their first 4 years in the NBA, he's among the least amount of minutes ever given to a guy drafted in the top 10 in their first 4 years. Usually, you draft a guy in the top 10, you give him a shot.
Yeah. It's
also weird. He's picked 8. We're going crazy about pick 8. The Knicks, 2 years later, had a pick, or 3 picks later, and they were like, we can't. 8, we need to draft a guy. And this guy, like, we're going to go crazy about. 2 picks later, we're like, we can't even draft a guy. Yeah, that's why I also think the Leon Rose is just not that good of his job. And that's like, it's hard to correct for Dolan being a terrible owner. And it's hard to correct for Leon Rose just not being good at his job. And I also think it's pointless to fire Tibbs until you're gonna get rid of Leon Rose.
Yeah.
And you're gonna kill Tibbs. Well, Leon Rose thinks he's the best coach for us right now. If Leon Rose disagreed, he'd fire him. Right.
Although I do have to say, the trading down for Grimes, most of the players from 19 down did not work out.
Yeah. Let me look at am I right about quickly being the same draft as Bane? Bane won a few picks later, but all the guys after, like Pritchard's not that great. Udoko, Azu, whatever, is not that great. McDaniel's not that great. Mekhi Flynn, who I remember a fan like telling us how great he was going to be, hasn't been that great. It's obviously very hard to pick these guys the later you get in the draft.
Yeah.
Can you imagine we got Maxey though?
Be nice.
That would be nice. I think the rumor was the Knicks would have wanted Maxey, but he couldn't. Wait, is this the one where they traded back, or was that the following year?
The Grimes one they traded back. No, they did 2 years in a row. They traded backwards for Grimes, and then they traded the 19th pick.
Oh, but the Knicks had for that year the quickly draft. They had pick 23. They traded back with pick 25, which isn't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It was more crazy that they had 2 picks. They had 21 and 23, and turned it in just pick 25 and Cam Reddish later on. Like they were so scared to take someone with 21 and 23. They're literally calling everyone, being like, "We just don't want to draft that pick 21." And Charlotte's like, "Yeah, we'll give you a really shitty protected pick." Deal.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
You're right. The Grimes one, well, Bones Highland is actually not bad. Cam Thomas is not that great.
Yeah, Bones is probably the best guy, but like if you look, he's like the only guy you'd take for the rest of the round. So it wasn't like Knox with like the next 6 guys. You'd be like, we could have got any of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like it's just later in the draft. The the Knicks were really good. I was trying to figure out why the Knicks only had 21 pick. So it's like 21st pick. If anything, this is the year the Knicks should suck, right? This is a loaded draft.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this draft is so loaded that pick 14 is going to be really good.
Yeah, I mean that Knox draft was stacked, so maybe this one will be stacked too.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the Knicks, one thing maybe the Knicks will, it doesn't matter. If the Knicks have the number 1 pick in the draft, they'll draft Wembanyama, who will never step foot in the NBA. He'll get injured and that'll be it.
Yeah. All right. I think it's time to wrap it up.
Yes. So we're doing Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
What do the Knicks have for Tuesday? They got let's see if this is gonna be a happy or a negative show. We got Philly on Friday. That should be a win. We got Boston on Saturday. And Monday is Minnesota.
Okay.
We got Brooklyn on Wednesday.
Well, they're going to be short-staffed.
Here's a question to you. Which team's fans have it worse right now?
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Way worse. Way worse. I don't even think it's close.
I really think they should trade Durant, just blow it up.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is that if you trade Durant, then the 2 people that come to the Nets games won't feel like they want to buy tickets anymore.
That's probably the only reason they haven't, because like most of their ticket holders are Durant fans, not Nets fans.
Wouldn't it be funny if Brooklyn's like it's not like it's just not working with the franchise, and they move to Seattle?
I mean, that would make a lot of people happy. I think nobody in New York would care, and Seattle wants a team.
Right, and there'd be some irony that Durant starts and ends his career in Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. I'll talk to you later.
All right. We should set up a time to draft that email and to, I guess, work on the game too. Yes,
that's a good idea. Do you think we can we do it after the next? Can we start? Can we have a set? Talk about that after the next show? Is that like? Can you talk